1,300 pound-feet of awesomeness. All of my internet friends, welcome back everyone to another episode. We're gonna do the power steering pump. Hello! Oh my gosh, I forgot how good it looked. I've detailed this whole half of the bay and cleaned up all that wiring. This is amazing. This is everything I thought it would be. This side's still filthy. I gotta get to that still. Today, this guy. My power steering pump has been leaking fluid from the reservoir for months now. Honestly, it's been over a year. I've been topping that off with fresh fluid. I did replace the lines on this, the high pressure line and the return line down under here, and it doesn't appear to be in lines. So I imagine it's leaking from around the pulley. The very first thing I'm gonna get going on here is to clear out this area. We need to get to this pump. We need to get to a couple of these bolts and get this pulley off. This is kind of my new go-to angle. I really like this. So, airbox, you got some tabs. We're gonna pop those off. Loosen this guy. That was not tight enough. That's okay. There you go. Pop that hose off. Pop this hose off. Pop this hose off. There you go. Top of the airbox. I cleaned this up in the last episode. It's beautiful. Here's your air filter. Time for a new one of them. And there they are. These are all 13 millimeter. I've got my socket here. We got one bolt, two bolts. That one is a nut. And once those are broken free, you can just throw them off with your hands. There you go. That's the bottom of the airbox. Auxiliary fan. This electric fan right here. These two bolts. Mine happen to be 11 millimeters. Yours might be different. And there are only two tabs at the bottom that just sit on two little perches. So there's the fan for the auxiliary. There's a bolt right here. There's one on the back side. That one there locks the tensioner. And this one on the end is the tensioner. We're gonna loosen all of those up, and that should allow us to wiggle this whole unit to loosen the serpentine belt. And then we're gonna take the pulley off. These guys are all 13 millimeters. It's right under the pulley. That loose. Wrench will get this back one easier. Oh yeah. All right, with that bolt loose and that bolt loose, I'm adjusting the tensioner, and as I loosen that, this serpentine belt is bouncing and getting looser. Let's see if we can speed this up a little bit. Wobble head on there. That was fun. Totally loose. We're gonna take this belt off, just roll it right around. Let's get the hoses off. This is your high pressure line, and that is not a 15 millimeter. This here, this is a 5/8. One of my favorite investments I've ever made are these ratcheting tooth wrenches. These are Craftsman. Look at that. All right. Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, I guess that would be leaking, wouldn't it? That O-ring is destroyed. Look at that, there's pieces of it. Guess what's getting cleaned now that that's all exposed? So high pressure line is out. Again, just for reference, this is the whole pump right here. So it plugs in there. You thread this end out. It's got a moving nut and then an O-ring at the bottom. So that's out. The return line is this guy down here. This is the one specialized tool you're gonna need for this job. This is a pulley puller and installer. You actually have both components. So a bit of a pro tip here. My brother, who you saw briefly on the last episode, he is a certified master mechanic, and he does this stuff. What takes me hours takes him minutes. I think I've got it backwards. Hold on. See, this is a joke. I'm an imbecile. So he told me the main trick with this is to not take this whole thing off and then fight with the pulley. Because I've seen guys like try to hold this thing with their feet and try to crank on this. He said, leave it in there, it's loose, but it's held. And now put your pulley remover on. So you're gonna slide, there's a little notch, it's made for this. So you wanna back this all the way out. So I'm gonna put this guy here, put this collar over it, this collar over it. That's what the unit looks like right there. And then you slide this retaining item over. You're free to tighten this guy. And and that's gonna start ripping this pulley away from the unit. So there's 2 hexes on this guy, and you hold on to it, and this lets you crank against that pulley. There you go. And this is where it comes in handy to do this while it's mounted, because it can hold on to itself. It's not dancing all over the place. You'd need a hell of a vice grip to hold on to this. I'm pulling with all my strength. All right, do it like a pro, get a ratcheting wrench. Now we're cooking with gasoline. Boom, and the whole thing comes off. Oh my gosh, look at this disgusting mess, just caked with fluid. So yeah, let's just finish taking this off. That's the pump, completely covered in gunk, completely caked. Check it out. I'm pretty sure that's the source of the leak right back here, but it's all fresh. We're gonna take this mounting plate off. I did also notice I was missing the bottom bolt for this. I'm gonna have to find another bolt just like it and get that threaded. It's supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4 is this set bolt, and then the adjuster. Dad to the rescue. Thought there was supposed to be 4 bolts to undo. There it was. I dug through a parts bin he had, 13 millimeter, same length, same thread. It's perfect, so I'll be able to put all the hardware back on. And I have to take these 3 bolts off and take this bracket, because that is gonna go on this new one. What? Oh, you asked for it. 1,300 pound-feet of awesomeness. Oh, I love this tool so much. You have no idea. This tool is frighteningly powerful. Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, this is over 10 years of grime. This is grime that doesn't wash off. You scrape it off. Wow. I have spent many hours degreasing all of this 30-year-old Jeep. It's only gonna get so clean, especially when it's had a leak like that with stuff that needs to be scraped off. I did pull out the return line. There's a high pressure line. That's the return line. High pressure, return, high pressure, return. And I saw some fresh fluid around that. I'm putting a new O-ring on that line. Let's get this guy put back together. We're gonna start with this bracket. This is the bracket we cleaned up. Little adjuster piece. And these 3 bolts will go back in here, some Loctite on them. Let's get this back in. Cool. So now I've got the bottom bolt that I never had before. These are all threaded by hand. That's the little one. That's the pivot point, basically. This is the other component of that pulley tool. We're gonna take that whole thing, and that threads into the power steering pump. And you wanna thread that all the way in, because you are gonna be pulling on those threads. So thread it as far as it'll go. Got good leverage on this. Barely see a little bit of that shaft. It should be just about good. You don't wanna overdo this. So you want to slide this all the way down. That'll give you room to get your serpentine belt back on. Wiggle, wiggle. And make sure all of your pulleys that have teeth on them are all fully seated. Make sure this big bolt threads into that adjusty piece. That's a little bit snug. It has just a little play. Now we hand tighten until this belt is nice and tense. So you're gonna need an extension with your socket, because you're gonna reach all the way under there. There it is. And I'm just pressing on this. I think that's about where it was before I took it all off. Now we finish these off. Torque them down. So I had new O-rings, and I put a fresh one on there. It's lubricated with silicone. Just thread this down there. Careful not to cross thread anything. 16 millimeter, got this nice and snug. Fresh O-ring down there. This is all completely shored up and torqued down. The belt looks good. Now all that's left is this return line, and that plugs on down here. There's a plug on this, because right now we're gonna fill this with fluid, and then we're gonna turn the wheel, and we're gonna bleed out fluid out of this return line into a gallon jug. And once that fluid comes out nice and clear, we'll stop, we'll plug this up here and fill it up, should be good to go. All I've done is lift the tires up off the ground an inch. That way we can just turn them without resistance. I'm gonna have Kayla help out. She's gonna turn the wheel while I flush the system. I filled up the reservoir and I'm gonna watch that level because that will go down as the system flushes. Yep, turn it all the way. Yeah, nice. So we got our hose clamp on here, and now we quickly swap this little plug with the return line. We flushed it until the fresh green started coming out. The other stuff that was in there was all purpley because I had a ton of Lucas stop leak in there, so I think it's all clean and fresh. All right, it's time. Let's fire this guy up. Ready? Yep. Off. It sucked a lot of fluid down there. Let me fill that up a little bit more. All right. Going all the way to the lug. And I'm not seeing any air bubbles. Nice vortex at the ends from the back pressure. It looks good. Okay, my friends, and that is it. That is a long day, but it's all done. Power steering looks good. It's nice and quiet. There's absolutely no dripping at all. Time will tell if it holds up. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you on the next one.